Hello and a warm welcome back to another episode of the WenDirk Cast, your podcast about all things concerning the Metaverse Football League. We're your hosts, Calvinator and Jimbo, and together we will discuss latest MFL updates, transfers, developments, all the juicy content and information, all that great stuff has been happening over the last 7 days or so in MFL. One important note before we get started, none of what we chat about is financial advice, certainly not. There is some advice, but it's certainly not financial advice. Do your own scouting or hire a director of Metaverse Football. How are we doing, Calvin? Good week for you?
Definitely good week. A lot of things have happened, and I'm very excited for this episode big, 40. Yeah. So it's kind of a big milestone, and I must say that you've put in, you went on like a secret mission, did quite some extra
put in a
work
shift
for this one to make it very special. So I think it'll be really cool to get started with this episode and celebrate this milestone properly. So maybe you can tell me, what was your secret mission?
We all know that season 0.6 transfer window was crazy in terms of the volume spent, the amount of new users coming in, the record we hit for the amount of clubs being entered. We just knew it was a crazy time for purchasing players. We had the drops in there as well, the player pack opening. It was just a crazy 3 weeks basically. So I thought, there's a lot of people here who played a big part, or maybe didn't know they played a big part. So I went and basically contacted 6 different managers, and 5 of them I had little interviews with. On Friday evening, I had 5 interviews with 5 managers. So I wanted to speak about some diamond clubs. I wanted to speak to some managers about those who had made the most transactions. There was one manager in particular, within 3 weeks, made 190 transactions. So I wanted to have a chat with him and say, where's that conviction? So I managed to go off, and we got 5 different managers, and we're going to listen to those interviews in this podcast for the second half. And then Calvinator and I are going to sort of like have a discussion about sort of the topic in general. But it should be a really exciting one. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, that will be really cool. So we're going to touch on a lot of subjects related to what those managers said, maybe have a little discussion, debate. I have a feeling there might be some #not financial advice involved. Some, especially transfer market, transfer fees, there is some financial talk in there. But that will be really cool. So yeah, really looking forward to that in the second part, to listen to those audio and discuss what each manager said. Before we start with the usual updates, I guess we have to do one little shout out, Jimbo, to a particular guest or someone who was here last week.
Yes, so we had, for those of you who are keen listeners, I know obviously all of you are, last week's episode we had in Brandon, episode 39, and he has kindly and so selflessly giving away a standard pack to the MFL community. So we've, just before recording this, we have tweeted out on our socials the requirements for it. So just follow us and then Brandon on Twitter, give it a like and a retweet, and then share your favourite part of the episode that he was in, episode 39 below. And we haven't actually announced either that this episode is going to be split in half. So we're going to have today, and we're going to have an extra Dirk on Thursday, and then on the Thursday extra Dirk, we're going to reveal the winner of the standard packs. We want to win a standard pack, and we know there's been some crazy pulls in packs recently, and then Brandon's been telling us, like, when's the giveaway, when are you doing it, because I want to open it myself, and we're like, no, wait. So if you want to win a standard pack, jump onto our socials, our Twitter, and get involved, and we will reveal the winner on Extra Dirk on Thursday.
Yes, so nice to also combine that with our special milestone celebration to have that giveaway. So thanks a lot to Brandon for providing this pack. Yeah, really cool. So let's get started with everything. Weekly updates, personal journeys. Any highlights this week or lows?
There was some slight improvements to both my teams. I went into a bit of a data-heavy mode and started tracking everything now, in terms of XG against formations and all that sort of piece. And the season started off bad, like I said last week, and it was shown in the stats as well. But actually, I mean, both my clubs are sitting, Wyvern sitting in 5th. the Espartales sitting in 6th. They did lose yesterday. Some of you may have seen on Twitter. I played Hamilton Bulldogs and I was 2-0 up and I lost 4-3, which I think it's Special Agent is the owner of Hamilton Bulldogs, and he was very impressed with his win. And I was sort of like, oh, congrats, but I'm really angry that we lost at the same time. But his club is quite stacked for a Stone League, so I'll give him that. But I managed to win out against, I think it's Vogon's Dortmund Meta squad, and he has like 75 rated across the board in Stone, and my little second team in Stone with an average rating of 63 managed to beat him 1-0, so I was pretty chuffed with that. But the leagues have improved this week, but the cup performances are still awful. I've played 6 cup games and I've lost 4 of them and drawn 2 of them. I've not won a single cup game yet, so it's a pretty bang average week yet again for myself.
So still a bit struggling, continue from 0.5 is also not the best season, but
yeah, it wasn't. It was weird because I won the Stone League in 0.5, but I had a really good second half of the season. Whereas I've notoriously the last 3-4 seasons started really slowly and really badly. But yeah, we'll see. Have you had any better podcasts, better luck to contribute to us?
I've been pretty happy. I think I tweeted with Casablanca Corsairs that after 6 games they already have gathered more points than in the whole last season. So
that's
that
a big improvement.
That's a massive improvement. After tweeting that they lost 2 games in a row again, but at least there's some positive news from their side. Also, Black Sea I think is now shared first. So that's also good news for you, Arango.
Yes.
And I think almost all my teams are top half are first, third, fourth, something like that. But this is the ironic part. Apart from the team, Aaron called Navigators, that won the preseason tournament. So the team that won the preseason tournament is doing the absolute worst. Which is ironic, but I'm not complaining because most of my teams are very competitive and showing strength in multiple matches. So I'm happy with that. Also, that Aaron Calder, that league is also crazy stacked. So that's my excuse I can use.
Has it got a big Wilbert team in it by any chance?
I think 1. Yes, I think, but I'm not totally sure.
Yeah, the man's got stacks.
Just don't stack. I made a little video to show you guys that you lose points if you stack, but if you want glory, feel free to stack. But in terms of MFL and rewards, it's I think.
I mean, that leads quite interestingly into later because a couple of the interviews we discussed that, not directly about stacking, but I did propose a question about when progression comes out, will you rethink your distribution of players?
Okay, interesting.
And so we'll hear into that later. Yeah.
So a little teaser for later then. Maybe there's also a nice transition to the dev updates because the store opened, right? And you can spend your MFL now. So maybe people saw that. I know some people were a bit frustrated that they joined recently and they didn't have enough MFL to buy players in the shop.
Yeah.
So this also is if you stack, you just miss out on quite a lot of MFL, and now it really is, let's say you can spend it now in the shop. So maybe this will lead to a bit less stacking. But let's see. So dev updates, store opened, you can spend MFL. What I just said, I think a lot of people did it. We've seen some pretty nice pools.
I bought 5 uncommon packs. I just smashed all of them.
5 uncommon. That's the max, no? Or was it the max?
I got 3.
No, at one point I got the limits, yeah.
Yeah, 3 on the first day, and then the second day I just used the extra 20,000 and bought 3 more.
Oh,
2
nice.
more. 2 more. Did pretty well, actually. I think the lowest player I got was a 66, 72, 71, 71, 69. I was quite happy with all my pools, really.
Yeah, that's pretty above average pool, so... Yeah, I got 2 uncommon and then all my MFL was gone because I splashed it on those 2 rare packs, as I said in the last episode. So, but it's really great. It's been open and I think there's still some supply definitely common.
There's still a fair bit, even uncommon. I think it's 200 left or something. It's quite a lot.
Exactly. Yeah, I could technically buy some commons, but I'm still waiting for just a bit more to buy more uncommons.
Yeah.
But that's a really great development. We have it here, and you really can see what you can do with MFL. You can use it and get new guys. So that's great. About the programming, smart contracts cadence 1.0. So all the smart contracts of MFL have been updated. So that is really good. Engine update Quentin had been working on enhancing a bit more realism for the future version. For example, the passing system, better goalkeeper interceptions of crosses, and some realistic defender contests. So maybe physical will play a bigger role in that. Player progression, that is, I think, the hottest topic. In this week, they saw a small progress in that, in player progression. The back end is nearly complete, and the focus is, let's say, mainly on improving the test coverage. So the team wants to really make sure that this is done the right way, because it's such a vital part, of course, of the game. Unfortunately, Jordan has left the team. So thanks for all your work, and
big thank you.
Good luck with all your future endeavors. And finally, another feature they're working on is match reports. So the team has been working on adding a match report at the end of each match. It will allow you to view individual player stats, the tactics you used for the match, excluding the opponent tactics. I know a lot of guys, managers want that, but you won't see it. And it will be deployed next week. So maybe that's a pretty exciting thing to look forward to. What do you reckon?
I look forward to the match reports. They're always like a key part of just IRL games. You know, you can look back at some of the reports with XG and stats, which is going to be great to have that in here as well. I think also sort of an indirect, let's say, benefit is that you can see what tactics you use. Like, so many times I have my presets for tactics, but I'll sometimes just change the formation up with one preset, and I end up going, oh, what did I use yesterday? What were my tactics then? But now I can actually look at the report and go, actually use this, so I can revert back to it quickly. And understandably, you're not going to be able to see your opponent's tactics. Like, I don't think that ever becomes a thing.
I think that's fair enough. It's like, let's say with real football, that's why people ask for 2D, right? 2D makes sense. You can kind of see what's happening on the pitch. Yeah. But you also are not wiretapping the opponent's dressing room and know all the instructions that are being given, right? So I think it's fair that we don't see that. That would be a bit, you should kind of work that out yourself. But of course, we need 2D actual match play to maybe identify a bit more. But we know, I think in this weekend idea suggestions, that was the main thing people were talking about, which features should be developed first. And I think 2D was requested a lot. Yeah. But first, player progression, of course, as it's vital too. Okay, Diamond League. I think it's a really interesting season so far. What do you think, Diamond League?
Yeah, I remember this time last week we were saying that BFC Barcelona Meta Mercenaries is quite nice not seeing them just pushing away at the top and then go 1 week further in advance, and they're now first and second and 3 points and 4 points respectively off third place. But it seems like anyone can beat anyone in that league, which is great. But I do think that when things like rotations come into effect, I think that's when the teams like your BFC Barcelona and your Meta Mercenaries, you have that extreme squad depth and strength, will start to pull away like they're doing now, because they've got the ability to rotate strength with strength. There's not a drop-off in the subs, basically.
Yes, no, definitely. But what you say is true. Like, every team can, or any team can beat the other one, I think. Well, good news for me and Brandon is we talked about SV Berlin, and they gathered more points this week. They won. They left the last place. They even beat Dio 4-1, Bestione Milano. And Dio is sitting in like 7th place now. So I can imagine he's not the happiest with that start. But it's really interesting to see that from the 3rd place Londinium to 9th place OM Legends, it's only 3-point gap. And Barcelona is like 4 points of that. So it's really tight league, can go anywhere. And the good thing now is that we have 2 more teams compared to last year.
Yeah, which is great.
So we're not even halfway. Like, it's 2 more matches and then we're halfway. So we'll keep a close eye on that. What would be your prediction, if you can update it?
I mean, I don't want to sound boring, but with a 3-point gap over, I know it's only a 3-point gap and it's only one win, but I can't really see Meta Mercenaries or Ballers or BFC Barcelona dropping out of top 2. I really can't see it. Happy to be wrong, but I think as long as Autier stays in top 4, I think there's always going to be a lot of banter being thrown around. That'd be fun if he stays there. He loves bringing the smoke. I absolutely love it.
That is good. There's definitely a bit more drama.
He can give it. I'm not sure how well he can take it, but I think he can take it pretty well as well.
Yeah, so far he's doing okay, but
yeah, I maybe think Mercenaries come out on top again. I think Ronan had quite a few upgrades during the transfer window, especially with some of those single legendary packs. I think he got quite a few nice players.
Yeah, later more in Marketplace about that. He got some new guys. And also his goal difference is very impressive. Scored 22 goals already.
Yeah, he beat Parque Beira Pereira 7-0 last match.
Yeah.
That's why.
So that's where it comes from, but
yeah,
even without it, I think it's still... he still had...
He scored 22 goals and and 19 of those are from 2 players.
Yeah, Rory, right?
Rory and
Ruek.
Ruek,
That guy. Yeah, but I'm really curious what will happen. And again, for the game, it's really amazing. We have such a competitive top tier league. Marketplace. Well, there again has been a huge Italian influx, which is great. So I think MFL also tweeted about it, that they saw so many new Italian users. So there's really a nice network effect. The community chat is lighting up more. I always quickly check out what's happening in all language chats, and there's a new life there. Of course, the French one and Spanish one are still very active too. So let me shout out some Italian names and then a new user of the week. So we have Titiro 17, Rebob, Antonius 87, Alessandro Zino, Tarabonelli, Massimiliano, Luca Ragnar 90, Titinho, Pep 986, Domi Digital, Ricos, Gianluca Cegli, Gian Maholdem, NP17, Max Basque, Rom 2297, Pipo Solo, Roberto Cedinho, Florent, and Fafunator. That's another nice name. And the new user of the week, I would say, is Raffaele. One, it's a super nice Italian name, and I just said there's a lot of Italian people joining. But also, he paid 119 for a Stone Club from Costa Rica, so I thought it was interesting. Plus a lot of players, so maybe he really loves that location. He could have easily gotten a Stone pack, or even for $60 Stone Club, but he went for a nice location straight and spent some extra money on that. So that's great. Active managers... Bulk buying, Ludovic, Pablin, Noe Sark, loads of Koreans. So that's also funny to see some managers going for these nationalities, right? Of Noe Sark, Korean, Bosco, Ukrainians. I think Stagana or Necro has like Chileans. I have Uruguayans, so it's funny to see that. Some rare splashes. I saw Darkside, Bruzel, Niako, Sam 100, Brendan, RLK. Legendaries, Klo, Eric, Barbaric, Kinshu, Sturge, they all got some legendary upgrades. And clubs, I think, is where a lot happened, especially in Stone. So what we saw this week is that in Stone, people bought quite some expensive ones based on locations, or some nice locations changed hands. For example, Ne bought Munich Stone for 120. Ancient got a Barcelona stone for 70, a Berlin stone for 99, and a London stone for 120. T-Swizzle bought Baltimore stone for 165, Minneapolis stone for also 165. So 2 big American cities.
I think that's great. It's great to see locations, really premium prices. But I think that, in my head, 165 for Baltimore, 165 for Minneapolis, but you can get Barcelona for half the price. I think that's obviously it's the American community, and they love having their local places, and too right. But I think it's just more. I've got more of the football heritage side. So I'm going, that's absolutely mental.
Yeah. Although I don't know, have you seen the Wire, Jimbo, or not? The Wire fan. Do you know what it is? The Wire, like a very famous show.
No.
TV show.
No. I think I've heard of it.
Well, I think people who watched it, like me, then you're like. Bit smart, like, oh, this is the best show ever. I also think it's the best show ever. But it's set in Baltimore, so even I now feel like more connected to Baltimore. Like I would also spend a bit more money for Baltimore. So maybe D Swizzle is a The Wire fan. If other people are The Wire fans,
it could be a Baltimore Ravens. It could be NFL. It could be anything.
Love to talk about it. Also, when that bridge collapsed, I was a bit sad. Like, oh, it's like all the Wire fans are sad. But okay, let me continue. So a lot of interesting stone purchases with great locations for a bit more money. Pablin got Mercia also an iron for 100. Kevin for Durant Bronze Tokyo, a new user who spent quite some money to get this bronze club in Tokyo from Dane, I think, Tokyo Talents. And Adios got another bronze club. And then the big one is that the German Aussie bought Rome Plat for 600 for Mad Woman.
Yeah,
so
that's huge.
A big club splash. So a new platinum owner, a name we haven't seen for a long time. I think he was a bit more active. People said it's like good to see you again.
Yeah.
And he's back with this massive splash back in Plat. So that's really cool. Nice one. Okay, I hand it over to you for some trades and the real splash.
Yeah, so trades we had. I think earlier on in the week, Scrub grabbed himself a platinum club in a trade, and then about a couple of days later, Bill or Bucks for Life received that, grabbed hold of that platinum squad. Belo Horizonte, obviously in Brazil, the platinum side, he got it off Scrub for one non-MFL NFT. I'd love to know what that is. But I've seen some trades where it says that, but actually it is actually an MFL player being thrown in there, which is kind of odd. And then in terms of player trades, Ronan Obi-Wan, sorry, not Obi-Wan. It's Obi-Wan.
I think it's Obi-Wan.
Both exchanged a 91 rated player each. Fritz Jonasson and then Narciso Ruiz. So a really nice exchange of two really high rated sort of MFL players, both being 91 rated. And then for this week's Splash of the Week, a man who I just mentioned, we've mentioned quite a few times in today's episode, Ronan, spending $1,000 on Claude. I'm just going to call him Claude. It's Claude Menard, French centre forward, right wing, 18 years old, 89 rated for $1,000. Got him from Kevin Durant. Kevin Ford Durant, who in his very first MFL pack, believe it was also a kickoff pack or one of the starter packs, packed himself an 89 rated centre forward. Not bad for Kevin Durant. Not to be mistaken with the basketball player Kevin Durant, although it could be him. We do not know. But good to see Ronan getting back in there with some of the splashes again. As always, loves to make his meta mercenaries more competitive. If that's even possible.
If it's he also has the Quito mercenaries, which I'm facing in gold. We're destroying everyone, so I hope he's not going there. This Claude Menard, or maybe he's even threatening Dirk, because I think Ronan plays more 4-2-3-1. Dirk is in right mid. He's a right winger, Claude Menard. So yeah, curious what he's gonna do. How Ronan is reshuffling with those two legendaries.
I don't think we hadn't seen a centre forward primary position legendary sale for quite a while as well. And obviously they didn't really get much love because of the utilisation in formations, but now with a couple of formations you can utilise the position a bit more. We might see centre forwards being exchanged a bit more frequently now. Yeah,
there might actually be a nice MFL hack if you are the one guy that plays with centre forwards. I mean, almost no one is doing it, and then I think I also saw some rares that are pretty. This is for pretty low price, but no one, has some utility for that. So, just an idea. Maybe start a club with some centre forwards and give them some love. Centre forward FC, something like this.
Centre forward FC
could be a plan. Speaking about Dirk, he has some competition. He might not be sure of his starting position. He played 4 matches this week, and I thought let's focus on something else. We always just focus on goals and assists. Let's have a bit of a different approach. Let's look, for example, at some stats regarding passing, and I thought it was quite interesting because he is creating quite some chances each match. So, for example, in one match against Hamburg Harmony, he created 9 chances. B City MFC 4 chances. Against Yoga Bonito in the Titans Cup 3 chances. So he's always passing a lot, more than 70 passes, 80 passes a game, crossing and creating chances. So maybe that's another way to judge his performance. Do you think those numbers are impressive? You were more looking at data recently.
Yeah, I would love to know. I'd love to know a bit further with the chances created, how many of them are like big chances created. Because for anyone who does look at things like Opta and other stats in real life, you have big chances created and you have key passes. And like key passes is like your chances created, but then big chances created is like you basically put it on a plate for someone and they've effed it. To have 9 chances created in one game is mental. It does coincide with him getting an 8.6 rating, which if you have 9 chances created, you better have a bloody good match rating because that's huge. But 25 crossing attempts, I think, is quite an interesting one as well in that game. So 13, he seems to about 50%, maybe just under successful crosses, which actually isn't that bad of a ratio,
But it's also good what you say. Yeah, maybe we should have like XG created also. We have XG from strikers, but I don't know. Maybe like how much XG do you create for someone else?
Yeah, that you can get. You can get an X. Is it XA expected assists? I think it's XA expected assists.
Yeah, maybe we could add it to the chances created. XA.
Yeah, it'd be nice to know if it's like a big chance created as well because they're like big ones.
So
when
for Jax or the team if you're listening. Something related for the it's already amazing we can see chances created, but maybe then XA, like how much goals possible goals
XA expected assists
by Dirk would be interesting to know. All right, I think it's time to talk about our main topic of episode 40, our special milestone episode, about the transfer window. So maybe Jimbo first introduce like why was this such a special transfer window?
Yeah, I think we had, to summarize how big the transfer window was, in one of the best ways or best stats to track it is just the amount of volume being traded in a single month of May. Obviously, the transfer window wasn't exactly the full month, but it was near enough the full month. I think it was the 7th of May till the 30th, so near enough the full month, right, or 3 weeks. We had, just look back at this, we had $123,000 exchanged or transacted on the marketplace. So my first point of call was to go, right, let's have a look at that 3-week window. I want to have a chat with who spent the most money because I want to understand, like, where did that conviction come from? Was that your plan? Did it just happen? What's some reasonings behind that? And there were 2 standout managers, Kinshu and I think it's Niako, both French managers. Kinshu spent $6,200. I think Niaku just followed behind with $5,800, which is crazy. I think it's like 5% of the 5%, or what at the time I calculated, it's like 5% of the for every pound, every dollar being spent, 5 cents of it was Kinshu, which I think was sort of kind of crazy. But yeah, even just transfer window in terms of the amount of clubs entered, we had over 1,000 clubs being entered into the IMF Cup. I think nearly close to that for the leagues. We had within about 350, 400 new managers between March and May, which is huge. We just saw like a massive, crazy amount of transactions, the sum money being spent on transactions, and I thought, let's just have a dig into some of the people who made the transfer window like great. Everyone did. We all had a massive part to play in it, but Gaffer getting a Diamond Club, King Dingerlin packing a legendary player from, or one of the best legendary players in the game, from a kickoff pack, which when we talked to him later, he was opening it in quite a funny way. So we wanted to basically chat to all the managers and get to understand, like, have a little interview with them, have a little transfer deadline day interview with them.
Yes, that will be really cool. So yeah, we're gonna focus first on that transfer volume and maybe some transfer fees, and discuss a bit about Diamond with Gaffer, what happened there, player contracts, transactions, some club transfers, some player transfers. So a lot of stuff to talk about. I also just thought that he said 130k, and I think our total volume is 1.3 million. So it means like 10% of our total volume was spent in like the last in 1 month. So
in
that
1 month,
that says a lot.
and the marketplace has been open for 24 months. That's how long it's 2 years. I think it was the 26th or 24th of June 2022. So yeah, it's been a crazy month.
Crazy month. So enough to talk about. So let's talk then about Kinshu and the transfer, let's say the fees, so money being spent, the volume. And you already said he spent 6,200. So what did he say about that to you?
Yeah, so Kinshu, I popped him a message because I wanted to get to know sort of his reasoning behind this. So I asked him, did you have a plan for this transfer window? Like, was basically, did you plan to spend this much money? What motivated you to purchase 6 legendary players? Bearing in mind, when we talk about some of the transactions and the stats being thrown around, this is purely from the marketplace. It's not including the trading, because trading is far harder to track, and there's not like an Airtable for that, and there's non-MFL MVTs, and they're flying around left, right, centre. He has a gold club, so I asked him, does he want to quickly get promoted with it? I said, did you negotiate with other managers? And his response was basically, his first line was quite good, quite great. He put, my goal is to be one of the best managers when the game is released. I'm assuming he's referring to season 1, the official season 1, where we've got promotion, relegation, progression, that sort of thing. So I'm looking for ways to become competitive as quickly as possible. But what was quite interesting is that he's negotiated several players for a long time. So I think it was actually towards the start of the transfer window, Kinshu was picking up quite a few legendary players. I definitely remember shouting his name, I guess not really shouting, highlighting his name in a splash of the week, at least once in May. So
yeah, I think I did some shout outs with like legendary purchases, and he was always there, like each week almost. So
6 legendary players is quite a lot to purchase as well. And I think most of them were in about the same week, which is crazy. You probably could have had like a top 3 splash of the week, and it would have all been Kinshu in 1 week. And he said, I negotiated several players for a long time, and he put others less that I bought directly. So some of them it was planned, some of them it wasn't planned. He says, my goal for the current season is just basically to win. And he has a gold club. He wants to try and get that promoted to platinum basically as soon as possible, and ride the ranks so he can basically stack his gold team in preparation. He can fly up the divisions. And then I love this. To finish it off, he just says, I love this game. I just want to be competitive and have fun. And I was like, I think that line there epitomizes, and everyone else can echo that as well, just epitomizes everyone's sort of, stance and viewpoint on the game. Everyone wants to be competitive and have fun, and they bloody love this game. I think we can all agree on that.
Definitely. Yeah, and so a bit of the disclaimer, let's say, like I come up with some questions to discuss after each manager, to maybe look at their answers and then ask some talking points or some dilemma to focus on one aspect of the game. So yeah, Kinshu, obviously he spent quite a lot of money, and one of the things that, for example, in the comments of my YouTube video comparing FM and MFL, a lot of FM fans are like, oh, MFL is pay to win, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, Kinshu also says, I want to be competitive. He spends a lot of money and he wants to win. So what would you say is really pay to win, and the spending loads get you trophies? I think in that one video about pay to win, I gave Chelsea like a bit of or Man City. I kind of mentioned that like they do real life pay to win, and it doesn't necessarily translate into trophies. Um, what would you say about that? Like, is it pay to win, and does spending a lot of money get you trophies?
I think if we were to look at I don't think it's pay to win, first of all. I think you can pay to win more. You can pay to be, if you're one of those top 3 divisions and you're coming into the game probably now, or even throughout any time period of when the game's been out there for, if you want to compete in the top divisions, unless you can negotiate top players who aren't already in clubs, you're probably going to have to spend big to get into the top divisions, which is understandable. So that element, I guess you could say, is pay to win to an extent. Not financial advice, any of this, by the way. Does spending loads get you trophies? That's an interesting one, because I would say it probably does if you're picking the right players and they're really good. I like your example of like Chelsea and Man City, especially Chelsea, because they spend loads and don't get anywhere really. But I think if you want to get player trophies, you buy the best players, so I think in that sense, when you look at people like Big Wilbert and Staccato who have loads of players, they've also got loads of player trophies as well. I'm yet to win a player trophy. In 6 seasons, I've still not got one. So I'm hoping this year will be... I said that as a 2024
resolution.
Resolution was to win a player trophy, and we're halfway through the year and I've still not won one. So I've probably only got about 2 seasons left to try and do it. It's not looking great.
Yeah. What about club trophies though? Leagues, winning leagues with it?
Oh yeah, of course. Sorry, why did I just immediately assume player trophies there? Yeah, I think in this game, in MFL, because it's an algorithm and an engine, if you spend quite a lot on good players, in particular divisions, you do get a lot of trophies. I.e., I would say anything from stone to silver, you could probably fast track trophies quite easily. But like you said, it's the whole point about, is it an effective use of players, and is it the most efficient and things like that, which depends. It depends in a few senses, because maybe in silver it might do, because you can still earn quite a bit. And maybe the jump going up isn't worth it for the time being if you can just rinse silver. But yeah, it's definitely interesting. I don't think it's pay to win. I think it's just pay to win more. in some regards.
Yeah. Now, one of the things I also said, like, even if it's a bit pay to win, it's just mimicking the real economy, right? And real football world. And some clubs in real life have very responsible financial policies, and other just splash cash everywhere. And that's okay. It's not, and yeah, is it pay to win? No, because you can play it on different levels and win on different levels. You can also win a stone with a very small budget.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, as Kinchu said, he wants to be competitive, and if you want to be one of the best managers in the game, yeah, of course, that's like the same. If you want to be a Champions League club, you also have to spend a lot. So yeah, that's okay, no problem, I think.
Yeah. I agree. You can't expect to win more and be more competitive if you don't upgrade your squads. And a way to upgrade your squads is to just purchase those players. So I can understand it if we're looking at it from that point of view, unless you're really good at negotiating players in and you give off really nice contracts, maybe a different way.
Yeah. No, there's later more about that. I think we can continue that discussion. Final thing about this topic about, let's say, the transfer volume, fees, spending money. So Kinshu, he spent quite some money, and we're getting now into financial advice territory, maybe. Well, I have my opinion about this, but should you see MFL as an investment or hobby or both, or how?
I think you should just see it as a hobby, but if you're smart, but it's a hobby, but ultimately because there's money involved, it technically can be classed as an investment as well. Maybe from the tax man's point of view, it's probably an investment, not financial advice. It's but I think it's in my eyes, it's a hobby.
For the Dutch government, you also have to list your NFTs technically as assets and stuff, but that's a whole other thing. But yeah, I also say this because often in general you get like new users coming in and it's like, oh, can you win money with this, right? Can you win real money with it? So I think they are hunting a bit more for investment. But I guess ultimately the best approach, and I know most people have this approach, is just to see it as a hobby. And yeah, if your hobby is having some old cars and you buy some parts for it, you also invest in it without getting a lot in return. And you don't want it, you just do it for because you love cars, and we love this game, and we love
Yeah.
playing, and we love football. So yeah, treat it as a hobby, and then yeah, maybe in the end it turns out, oh, it was actually secretly a good investment, but it's not. That's not what it's about.
Yeah, it shouldn't
It's
be your
having
primary
fun. So
focus, to be
that's
fair.
yeah, that's what I like about King's answer. Is just, I just want to be competitive and have fun, right? That's main thing.
Yeah.
Just be competitive and have fun, and and he wants to do that, and he spends that money, like, fair enough, on his hobby, let's say. So
Yeah.
fair enough.
I think let's move on to our second manager, but our first of 5 interviews. So just to give a little FYI here, Calvinator's not heard any of these interviews. He doesn't even know he knows a vague idea what's coming. I said I've interviewed these people, I've contacted them, and I've recorded them, I've edited them. For some reason, I think it's in this one. My voice sounds ridiculously bassy. I think I must have changed it too much. But what we're going to do is basically going to play the interviews live in here. So we all know that this season's Diamond League has now 10 teams compared to 7 last year. It's extremely competitive, which is great. And one of the new additions was Fantasy Gaffer acquiring, it would have been Meta Prime from Unity, wasn't it? I think it was Unity's club, wasn't it? Yeah, the German
Unity,
one.
yes,
And
yes.
he rebranded as SV Berlin 1237. I think that's the date when Berlin became Berlin.
Yeah.
Berlin became Berlin. So I basically I wanted him to go through how that process looked and take us to the start of the acquisition of a diamond club. So go listen to this now. If there's any audio problems and it sounds bogus, then you could just blame me. But hopefully everyone can hear this. So let's get into this. So season 0.6 transfer window has been far from calm for you, Fantasy Gaffer. You know, acquiring a diamond license, rebranding it, and now making up one of the 10 prestigious clubs competing in the diamond division for this season. Do you mind sort of taking us back to the beginning and how this all came about for us?
Yeah, I mean, I guess to tell the story, I got to tell the story behind the story, right? Which is Ordia first started looking for a manager for his diamond club. And, you know, I've been looking to manage a diamond club formally for basically since the inception of the game. And so he got tagged by a few of a few of the more online managers who knew that. And so he and I had some DMs back and forth, and it looked like that was going to be maybe something that that he and I were both looking forward to me taking on. And so I reached out to you know, a bunch of people in the community to figure out what their temperature was on maybe loaning people to his club and letting them know that, you know, there's a possibility I might manage that. You know, I'm trying to figure this out with him, and we'll see where we are. So I had that in the back of my mind. And as I'm having those conversations with people, and as I'm seeing how revenue share is going to go and how difficult it's going to be, I'm also getting questions back from people like, well, you know, I would, you know, and this is no shade on Ordier. It's just these are my personal relationships, right? So people are saying, well, you know, I'd feel comfortable with you managing my team. Are you really going to manage it? How's that going to work? Is he going to give you the license and then you're going to manage it and then you'll give him back the license at the end of the season? Like, how does that actually flow? Yeah.
Because there was one point when in one of the episodes where I think Calvinator announced that he was releasing some alpha or some information that you were going to take over Ortia's club, and then the next week you were at the club you've got now. So there was quite a big, and I found it quite funny that I was like, next week I was like, you gave wrong information.
Oh man, poor Kyle, man. He didn't know. I didn't know. It was really something that came about because of how Herta was deciding to leave, and how I had some other assets that I was looking to move around. And you know, it's no surprise, I guess no. It's pretty common knowledge that I've owned 4 of the bigger players in MFL, and none of them are on my roster right now, which really feels short-sighted in retrospect. That I'm not running out a team that has, you know, Jamal and Barry and Azimi and Dirk. Yeah, no Barry. Yeah. So, I mean, all that being said, there was an opportunity to have a club. There was an opportunity to be able to actually manage. And figure out if part of MFL can work the way the white paper hypothesizes it might be able to. Can you
Yeah.
own a license at the highest level, not own any assets that have a reasonable chance of starting for that club, and still be competitive? And I wanted to test the thesis. I've had a really fun time doing it, and I'm happy to answer any questions that I can answer. There is some stuff, obviously there's some stuff that happens behind the scenes with people. I know you've talked to M. Brandon and things like that. And, I don't know how much I'll be able to answer about like future plans and things like that, because a lot of those are speculative, and a lot of those are likely dependent on what rewards look like in the future, and how well I'm able to prove myself as a manager. But other than that, happy to be an open book.
Because it's, we're a good week or so now into the season 0.6 in terms of when league started, and probably from your side, it's probably been a little bit of a hard start for your Berlin club, just to put it lightly. But I did see that you had about a 4 or 5 day break of transfers, but then just leading up to the transfer window ending, you brought in an 89 rated centre back, Ignacio Valdivia, which from doing my research seems like it was someone got him in like a standard or start a kickoff pack.
That's what it looks like to me too.
Yeah. And then I think off the back of, was it Ronan acquiring someone else in one of the recent drops, that you managed to get 94 rated Stipo Nincevic, who was like, 94, one of the highest rated players in the game. And I think off the back of that, you beat Parque Buiapuera 3-0, 3-1 the other day.
Yeah.
And
didn't give up a goal.
I saw that your lineup and went, hang on, where's this 94 rated come from? I looked through the history and I just saw like a day before. So was that sort of quite a spontaneous couple of signings off the back of some poor results initially, or was that planned as well?
No, the 89 center back is the only member of this Berlin squad that I did not specifically go out and negotiate with. I found them on the marketplace. I threw a speculative offer out there that's consistent with the offers that I made for all of the players on the team, and knew that if I was fortunate enough to be able to land them, I was taking myself from being a bottom third club to actually having the opportunity to be, the top end of that mid table. And I don't know how much you've talked to Calvinator or, to anyone else, but in pitching this project to all of the various agents, and there are now 11 different agencies represented on Berlin.
Wow.
Which is pretty outstanding considering
full starting 11 basically. Yeah.
We're not a DAO. We're not we're not a collection of people that otherwise intentionally came together. But in pitching that, I said, look, revenue share is going to have to be between 3.5% and 5%. I really don't know that I'm going to be able to go over that. I do not have a player on my roster today that I would be comfortable starting. And this is going to be, a rising tide raises all ships. I will do my level best to get the highest rated players in here, play them in a formation that I think has a reasonable opportunity to win every week. And we are setting a target of finishing 5th. So if you look at the rewards and you say, this is my percentage of a 5th place and I'm happy with that, I'd love to have you. If you're looking at that and you're going, man, it looks like too steep a climb and I don't know how you're reasonably going to get there, no hard feelings. I get that too. So it's kind of like that. And so then the 89 center back was absolutely almost a windfall signing. Like I said, I wasn't expecting it. And then once it happened, I really started to feel like this was a possibility. And then enter Ronan.
Yeah, I just remember, I saw that 94 rated Stipo and I went, hang on, I'm pretty sure yesterday or a couple of days ago he's a starter for Meta Mercenaries, arguably one of the best players in the game, and now he's turned allegiances to a different German diamond club in your SV Berlin. So your expectation for this season is to finish 5th. Do you believe that the club under your leadership can take it to 5th?
I mean, I think that had Aurier not paid off the referees for the opening match, we'd currently be sitting 5th. So, I mean, I feel pretty good because without Stipo, in the fold, without having Valdivia in the fold, we had the best of that match, and a 5-1 scoreline was a little harsh, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
All credit to the manager. He obviously had his side fired up. They came out. I don't think they missed a shot. We had a little bit of a misunderstanding at the back there, and it was not our best match. Maybe some of the spotlight got to us in a way that we weren't expecting. Santi Giordano, not his best game. We got Ricky Power in there as an 85,
What a name.
a young English goalkeeper to give him some competition now, and we've been playing a lot better since then.
Sweet. So just before we round things off, do you have any sort of top tips or good practices for other managers and other transfer windows looking to negotiate for players in the upper divisions of the MFL, or even for the whole pyramid, but also the upper divisions? You've got to be a bit more, stringent and fight and put your elbows out a bit when it comes to percentages and acquiring who you want. Have you got anything on that side?
Yeah, look, all of this got done because of relationships, right? I mean, if I'm sitting here with this club and I don't have Stipo, it's probably a little bit different. And having DMs open, having good working relationships, having worked a number of deals with Ronan in the past, when Ronan reaches out and says, "Hey, I got what I think is probably a joke offer from you for Stipo," and I'm like, "No, I have 1% to give you," and he's looking at that reasonably and going like, "Hey, 1% is not a thing I'm taking." That at least gets the conversation started, right? And he understands where I'm coming from. I understand where he's coming from, and it's really it's a match that works for all of us. It gives Berlin a better opportunity. It gives Stipo some playing time, and I think Jimbo, that's kind of the way that I can see this being successful. And we'll leave aside whatever rewards are in the future, but looking only at promotion and progression, a lot of managers that own diamond clubs, like myself, also own platinum clubs. But there are a handful of accounts on here that have so many players that they simply do not have minutes to hand to all of them. And so what I'm really hoping that I can prove through this process isn't just that, I'm a capable manager. It's not just that it's possible to put together an all loany side, but that this ecosystem can function in a way where accounts that have too many players, the Chelseas of the world, recognize that they're going to have to send 10 or 11 or 12 of those players on loan every season to make sure that they're still progressing, to make sure they're not devaluing those assets. And so I anticipate Berlin being a diamond club for a long time. I know it's going to be a hard fight to not get relegated, but I don't see any reason why a club can't be a mid-table club year after year, slowly acquiring its own assets, but primarily relying on loan assets and good relationship building. And if in the future you turn around and you look at some of these 16, 17, 18, 19-year-old, players that are in that 86 to 88, 89 range, is someone like Ronan or Soda or Dio, are they better off having that player start for them in platinum, ride the bench for them in diamond, or being a diamond starter for my Berlin side? And understanding that has to come with a level of commitment to play them, a level of commitment to tactics, saying, I'm going to make sure that this player is getting 50% starts, that this player is starting in a 4-4-2. You want to see that data. You want to see that progression, right? And so this is just that first step, man. We're going to be talking about this, I hope, for many, many seasons, but definitely many, many IRL years too, right? And see what this can really bring, not just to myself, but hopefully it proves out as a model for platinum, for gold, for silver, and we'll see what that really means as the as the base of clubs continues to grow, as the base of different managers continues to grow.
Wow, perfect. What a response. Well, seems like you've already got a planned out long-term project for the Diamond Club there, highlighting
I need
the
you
key
to get a Lego so
of...
you can join the fold, my guy. Come on, get out there.
I've not had one for a few months, I've not got that kickoff luck. But maybe next time, if I do get legendary, we've got that good communication. You were there highlighting how key communication is for negotiations. So without further ado, I'd just like to wish you the best of luck for season 0.6 and thank you for this little interview.
Oh, thank you very much for having me.
There we go. 12 minutes of Gaffer. What do you think of that?
Well, it's pretty funny that he talked about this Orche thing.
Yeah.
So it was not really my fault. Good to hear. It went on after that. But yeah, it's this main takeaway from this interview, which is really cool, is is already an argument against this pay to win, what we said before, is that he can be a Diamond League manager with all assets, say he loaned, and just by using his skills and his network and his energy, he was able to assemble this competitive Diamond team now, which is really amazing. So I love the story, which should inspire everyone that it's not just pay to win. By just being very passionate, you can also compete in this top tier league and do well and also have loads of fun. I think he's really enjoying this process of these guys.
He sounds really excited by the fact he's now owning a Diamond club. And when your name is Fantasy Gaffer, you better believe you've got to come out hot, because with a name like that, people will expect you to perform and have decent results. You know, he knows his stuff. And I think we all know in general from when we had him on the podcast before and listened to that, I think he does know what he's talking about. And you know, he knows what his plan is. He knows how to execute it. He's, like you said, trying to pave the way and say you don't need to own all the assets. You need to pay all that money. You can get the license, maybe pay for that. Obviously, albeit a Diamond one can be quite expensive, but we could be talking about any level of division here. And he's talking about how, you know, he wants to prove a point that he can be competitive without owning players. So he says his hope is at least 5th, which I think at the moment he's sat
shared
I think it's just short. He's in 8th at the moment. But if he had beat Ortier, he would have actually gone up to about 3rd or 4th, basically, depending on that. Or no, 3rd he would have been if he would have won that first game, which he was a bit angry about. But he's increased his squad strength since then. But I think him highlighting the need and necessity for good communication, I think, is probably a trend. I think I know we're going to see quite often in these next couple of interviews as well.
Yeah, well, let's see. I must say, as someone who loaned out, let's say, my legendary Matthews to him, I got a lot of confidence, even more now in him, and if maybe even other people who own legendaries are like, oh, I really want to be part of that project too. So I think it was a great pitch also from Gaffer to, if you have some legendaries, maybe choose Diamond Berlin.
Yeah.
I think and Brandon will also be happy after last weekend now hearing the Gaffer saying all of this. So
yeah,
Team Berlin. Maybe I shouldn't be biased, but I'm getting really into the SV Berlin.
Yeah, I think when you hear a manager come out there and start like giving this, it's like when a new manager signs for a club and he says something, he does like a media piece and all the fans are like, yes, this manager sounds so confident.
Yes,
he knows what his plan is, and as a fan you go, I'm a bit excited by this. So and almost the closest that you're going to get to being a fan is having a direct connection into the club with you having a player on there. So exactly, I can definitely see that you and the others and the 11 of you, I think, including Gaffer maybe, who have ownership of or players in that squad, you'll be keen to keep an eye on how that performs throughout the rest of the season. Yeah,
and also the rewards and diamond go. Let's see, there's huge gaps between first and 10th, so it can really impact the. I get like 4% of that, so it can really impact what you're getting out of it. So, but yeah, really cool, and I love that main takeaway. You can achieve great things by not just spending money, like that's like one route maybe, but also by being really passionate, communicative, and active, etc.
Yeah.
Yes. So I guess point 3. Maybe you can introduce the topic and the interview.
Yes. So I actually, in most of these, I introduce the topic anyway, but I'll introduce it as well for double time here. But actually, no, I'm not going to, because I introduce it in the interview. So I do a good job anyway.
Okay. Start the recording.
So we'll start this one. A slightly different angle to transfer windows now. A massive part of transfer windows is the signing of players, that contract element. And who better to chat to than a manager who owns 764 players and just over 80% of them are currently on active contracts. So if there's anyone who knows how to negotiate where players go to, it's none other than Big Wilbert. Thank you for joining us. We've got a couple of questions for you. You've got so many players and you've got so many on active contracts. How do you manage all that?
First, thanks for having me. Does this like count as my second appearance?
We'll count that. We'll count that. Yeah,
part
we'll
of
give
a
you that. We'll
second
give you that.
appearance club.
Yeah.
But yeah. The big thing is just, hey, you know what? First and foremost, I like to feed my own teams. Just to make sure that they're whole. And then if there's any additional, then I kind of throw them out there, and I just keep an eye on what the offers are. If there's one that I really like I accept it right away. With a lot of my commons, especially all those stone clubs, I think what I did was I went from offering 3% auto renew for my 64s to 5%, just because there was that decrease in the rewards for stone from 0.5 to 0.6. So I just wanted to make sure that I kind of kept that about even. I know there's some people out there that are like, well, you're just, cutting these guys down. But hey, you know what? If you really want to fill a team, if you want to be competitive, you got to come out with the best offer. So that's essentially what I did down the line. I kind of did auto contracts. So I think 62 to 63, I just charged 4%. And typically what I do is I kind of slot all the players into certain levels, so if I see it as a starter on silver, I would expect, about a 4% contract. So what I do is, if you're offering me bronze, you better come at me with at least 8%, in order for me to even consider that offer. Hey, that's what it is, It's it's approximately double, as you go up each chain, and then of course I'll take into consideration past performance. If you're going, if you've got already a strong team, because I can kind of gauge. I've got teams all the way up and down the line. I kind of know what's expected to,
a bit of due diligence on managers, sort of thing.
Yeah. So and and hey, I get a lot of DMs, people just looking to fill out their teams. I'm like, well, hey, you know what? That's not a great offer now, but hey, if it's the best offer at this point in time, I'll go ahead and accept yours. But so ultimately, I'm looking for the best for each one of my guys, and then see where it goes from there. So I think I've got a lot of strong teams. So obviously, as you've seen, my iron team, Coco MFC, has got 11 rares, which is insane. I didn't expect that, and it just lost today. So,
really?
It just got put in a really tough division.
Wow.
Like I mentioned, I think a couple weeks ago, there's at least 5 squads there that have at least 5 rares, in there. Wow. So every other week is just a cross your fingers and hopefully I can, get 3 points. But
yeah, is the whole process of contracting players out during transfer window, is that quite a stressful time? Wake up in the morning and see you've got 50 plus inbox notifications. Is that a common occurrence for you?
It can be. What's nice is that once I see that I got a lot of interest on the player, I go through the contracts and just start chopping off the lower contracts, especially from the stone clubs that are 1% stone for a 78 striker. I'm like, yep, that's not going to cut it. I'll say no, and then I'll go ahead and then update the availability to put it at a level that I think that particular players should get. So
and you're comfortable with any offers that come through, sort of thing.
Yeah, I won't receive the huge influx, especially for that player. So
So in a point that Gaffer made was that obviously in the future we've got progression and promotion relegation. Do you think that your maybe approach or strategy for contracting out players will shift because of that mechanic and that introduction of, say, progression, or do you think you'll still sort of keep some of the current ways that you do things? Or do you think it's going to be, because you've got a lot of players, so it's going to take it takes already a lot of time to do contracts? Do you think you have to change the ways a bit to make that more efficient, or is it already efficient at the moment how you do things?
It will be it's probably a little bit of both, right? Because I want to go for advancement, in most of my leagues, but I also want to make sure that my young players and old players, right? Because really even a 28-year-old player is young to me, but but just making sure that they're in a good spot within, the realms of where their qualities really like take them. So, I would say like the limits maybe like one on either end, but hey, you know what? If someone wants to give me, like 10% for, like a 16-year-old like striker that's got a lot of promise, hey, you know what? Like into a gold club, even though like that gold club isn't going to be that hot, it's fine. I'm open to anything, and like that's just another factor that I'll have to put into place with everything else.
Yeah, and I didn't say when I introduced you that aside from having the second most active contracts, you do officially have the most players in your gallery or agency overall. Will that number continue to increase? Is that sort of a podium spot that you'd like to forever hold, or is that just a coincidence that you're up there at the top there?
Not really. I'd like to like pare that down because I'm at 15 clubs now, so that's way too much. I'd like to be under 10, some point in time, and then maybe like 5 or 6 is like the good sweet spot. But when I'm a sucker for a good deal, so if it's out there, I'm gonna like grab it. And I know like the deficiencies like on my team, like especially coming into this season, center mids, left mids, wingers with like defense. Those are really players that I like targeted on the marketplace after each drop. So, and I think I was pretty successful getting those.
Yeah, I saw towards the end you had, I think it was maybe a couple of days before, you had one particular day where you snagged a couple of legendaries all in quick succession, and people were like, "Oh, good splash," and then it was like, "Oh, another splash, big Wilbert again." He just sort of, so you feel like it seems like with yourself maybe when it comes to transfer windows that have a little bit of a lull when it comes to purchasing players, and suddenly it's multiple splashes in quick succession.
Yeah,
is that sort of like planned out, and you've done your research, and you thought, "What? I've got the conviction now. I want to get it over and done with."
Yeah, when the like timing strikes, right? Because like Twitch, he's been around since like before season 0.1. He was exiting, and I had been eyeing Javed Sheik. I think that's how you say it.
Yeah,
for a long time. He's got an insane passing stat of 97. I'm like,
97.
He looks perfect in the middle of my 4-3-3 formation in diamond, and someone's got to set up. Hey, my new guy Stario, so like someone's got to set him up, and like the timing was right, and I didn't want to miss out on him because a lot of 89s had been sold and transferred recently, so I kind of saw that window shrinking, and I knew I had a strike there. I ended up getting an 84 goalkeeper from him for a pretty good price, 315, and
nice.
then another striker, Ruben Guerra, who's got 92 shooting as an 86. So an all-around stud. I think I got a great deal on him as well. So it's just building it up, right? Right. So, I'm always on the lookout for great deals, players that fit my mold, and at some point in time, I'll probably end up selling some. Like you saw that I did sell a very good CDM to Sam for $425. I didn't really want to let him go, but he made me an offer I couldn't refuse, and he really understood the value of that particular player because he had a 75 pace and a 70 shooting, which is obscene for a CDM.
CDM, yeah. And just before we close things out, and I let you off to go manage the rest of your clubs that are going to be performing in today's match day, do you have any sort of top tip or tips for other managers in MFL when it comes to negotiating or sending out players? Maybe it be on volume like you do with your masses, or just in general?
Yeah, just that like goes in waves, especially if you're contracting players out. The offers are only going to get better unless, there's like 2 or 3 with 300 players that jump in. But typically the, players are going to get better probably like peaks right before the season. So just hold out as much as you can. I know that you'll miss out on some, but you'll, end up like hitting your like targeted compensation back, and then some. afterwards.
Perfect. Great answer. Well, thank you very much for that non-contractual advice, or maybe it is contractual advice,
Yeah.
as we do like to say on the podcast, contractual advice from Big Wilbert. Thank you for that insight and all of that information you've given us there. Big thank you for joining me just now, and the best of luck for the rest of season 0.6.
Yeah. Best of luck to you as well.
Bosh.
All right.
There we go.
Yes.
Big Wilbert, the man with the most players in MFL and the second most players on active contracts. A quick quiz question for you. Do you know which manager has the most active contracts?
I think I saw that in your list. You were.
Oh, you cheat! You cheat!
So
was
it Stagana?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
it was. Yeah.
So I can score points now, but
disqualified.
Yeah, really great to hear from Big Wilbur there. And what I really liked is his the way he said, like, he approaches that, like, with that 4% kind of these different categories, and then if they're starting, or like what is like a starter level is like 4%, and then you play around with that, with kind of this. So then if a stone club's, like, if you have 4% bronze, then you double that for lower levels, and just have that approach. The only thing I also think is, like, in terms of MFL, with like stacking those iron sites, he's losing quite some MFL right now, I reckon. So I wonder what his approach is to that. But
yeah, that was what I wanted to get out of him with regarding. I think I butchered the question a bit, really, and I wanted to say to him, like, when progression stuff gets released and obviously rewards get scaled up, will your approach to allocating players change? But one of the first things he said was that he prioritizes his own clubs first. So it may be that Big Wilbur as a manager always has, maybe in a sense, stacked teams, but he said he also does want to scale down on that slightly as well. So I think he won't. He could also go, I don't mind sacrificing 2 seasons because I know that team in Iron will be in silver in 2 years' time. It could also be something like that as well. If you know if you guarantee you can get promotion, maybe it's worth to have like 1 year of pain. Does that make sense? But I do think, for the time being, when we're basically getting 3 MFL points because no progression, you try and maximise it.
Yeah, no, fair enough that he just is testing that out. Also getting a lot of trophies. He can also be the most successful manager.
Yeah.
In that sense, with having a lot of trophies too. So maybe it's another side of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the questions I wanted to talk about regarding his conversation and the most active contracts is, like, what are good percentages for contracts? So I think he answered that with his, like, 4% for, like, a decent level starter.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think he said that, and I do agree with him. I think also maybe not the doubling and scaling up. I thought that was a bit, if you're trying to say you want he said double up, so 4 rate. I was like, if you get into 12%, I think that's kind of crazy.
He said 4 in silver, 8 in bronze. Then, like,
yeah.
that.
Oh, okay. There we go. Okay, that's what I meant by that. Yeah. I think one bit he also touched on was, like, the research of where your players are going and how that might influence, like, the percentage for contracts. Someone offers you, like 5%, you can go, oh, that's actually a really good deal. But then you see the team's actually not that strong that he's going to, so you may want to try and increase that, or you may just say, no, I don't want to have that percentage. I don't want to have that contract anyway. But I think for players that should be in the divisions, I say should be because there's no hard, requirement, but, commons / uncommons in stone, uncommons in iron, maybe a couple of uncommons rares. I think if for the natural level of players in those divisions, if you go for between like 3 to 5%, I think that's a healthy and good percentage to go by. I think if you're in iron, and obviously, to be fair, a lot of the people listening might be in iron or stone because there's the most clubs there. That's that sort of thing. If you've got a high uncommon in iron, it might be best to go towards like 4.5%, 5% if they're a really strong player. But if they're a low end uncommon, it could be better to go towards a 3%. But it all varies in terms of what you're able to do and how good the player is. So, what are your sort of percentages on take on that? Is it similar or?
Yeah, no, I think 4 is fair, but there are two things I should have done better that he did. Because I also have pretty significant agency of like 330, about 336, something like that, players. And he is right, like, because Iron Stone, I used to be super easy with just lending, get as much common players loaned out. And I put a lot of common percentages at 2%, 3%, and they went very quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, this changed, the rewards changed, and you could have asked a bit more. You could have gotten like at least 4 for most commons, and like high commons in Stone, 4, 5, 6%, maybe even for some high commons. So he dealt a bit better with that compared to me, with realizing this and putting some high percentages. And the other thing that I like is not putting auto accept, but just letting all those offers come in. And then you can already get rid of all the lower ones, and then make kind of a more like informed decision. And auto accept is a bit for lazy managers. Yeah, if you have so many players, you can be a bit like, okay, just put an auto accept. 4% is good enough. But you can also let all those offers come in, and then this bronze team wants actually 6%. They really like this guy.
Yeah,
and he seems like a good guy. So if you take a bit more time. If you give it a bit more time, let all those offers come in, and then accept the higher grade offers, you can maximize MFL points so much more.
Yeah, if you let the offers come in and you get some good ones, you can do the research, and then if something doesn't go well, you can go, well, actually, I maybe it was my bad because I didn't research the team was going to well enough. But if you've got them on auto accept, you can be a bit lazy because you've got a lot of, because you've not got to sift through it, so it can be nice in that sense. But also maybe you could have all the offers come in, and then you can go, actually, well, I've not made a decision yet. A couple of days leading up to the end of the transfer window, when everyone wants to try and get a last few players, you can set those last remaining players on auto accept because you just want to sort of get them somewhere. But you could use those initial offers to give you your baseline of, save those offers come in from bronze, 6%. You can go, right, last 24 hours transfer window, auto accept 7%, see if anyone bites. Because you can try and... The impatience of people, sometimes they're willing to give a bit more percentage-wise, especially in the last couple of days of the transfer window.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm a bit too impatient of those things, but it really shows. Also, like Gaffer's story and Big Wilbert, if you give it a bit more time, if you put a bit more energy in it, you can really get amazing results and maximize MFL points and do well or better.
Yeah.
So that's a nice takeaway from this.
So we're coming to the end of this part 1 of our sort of transfer window mayhem of interviews and all this great stuff. So obviously we can't let you leave without a hashtag to prove that you've been listening to the podcast this far. So with all your little play on words, you got transfer window. Can we try and incorporate WenDirk into the word window? And I like to say that we both came up with this, but it was Calvinator's great brain that came up with this one. Hashtag transfer... What was it again?
Transfer WenDirk.
Hashtag transfer WenDirk. There we go. See, I can't even remember it. Hashtag transfer WenDirk. So if you are listening here, hashtag transfer WenDirk on Twitter, in Discord, let us know you've been listening. And obviously, this is going to be a second parter. So on Thursday, we will release the second part of these interviews that we've been doing. And just to give you a sneak peek as to what that's going to be about, we're going to have a chat with the manager who made the most transactions in the marketplace during the transfer window, which is 190. We're going to have a chat with the manager who purchased the most clubs from the marketplace. And also, Jeremy Clare, the 93 rated player who was opened in a kickoff pack and subsequently was traded for a value of around $4,500. We've got an interview with King Dingaling, the man who packed him. So we're going to hear all about those negotiations and how we unpacked him and how crazy it was for a couple of days whilst he had one of the most highly rated and most demanded players in MFL. So look forward to that on Thursday. But without further ado, thank you very, very, very much for listening, and we'll see you, well, actually in 3 days' time for another episode of Extra Dirk. See you then. Thank you for listening.